Welcome to another Dragonlance Saga Order of Aesthetics news episode. It is Bracha, Fierswelt the 17th. My name is Adam, and today I was sifting through the Iconochronos, and I ran across this exciting bit of news from yesterday. I'll temper the excitement just for a second. Wizards of the Coast announced a new book called Fizban's Treasury of Dragons to be released in October 2021. Now, what you're looking at right now is the release hardcover and the alternate hardcover design available in game stores exclusively. I'd like to take a moment before we dive in today to thank my collaborator patrons, the Heroes of Lands, and invite you to become a patron on your own or a member of this channel by visiting the links in the description below. You can even pick up Dragonlance gaming materials using my affiliate link. Now, Fizban's Treasury of Dragons. Let's look at this, shall we? So this is on the Dungeons & Dragons website. And it gives you all the pre-order information you need. And this is how they're framing it. They're framing it as if it were from Fizban himself, describing the various types of dragons. And this is why I'm not really excited about this, because this is not a Dragonlance book. This is a Dungeons & Dragons book that encapsulates all Dungeons & Dragons game worlds. And one thing that Tracy Hickman always believed when he was writing Dragonlance, and this is proved out through an annotation in the Annotated Legends, actually, was that he saw Dragonlance separate from all other D&D worlds intentionally. He did not want them to mix because it had its own specific cosmology, its own universe, its own world. And so it always bothered him, even when it went into Ravenloft, another world that he created for the setting. I'm sorry, for the game. So for D&D to now, or Wizards of the Coast more respectively, throw it all together, mash it all together as if it were a part of all the other worlds, and then just release something that ultimately is just, a Dragonlance god talking about all of the dragons that are all over, the sort of multiverse of D&D. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that idea. It doesn't matter because clearly this book isn't for me. I don't play 5th edition, so, I already have all of the other stuff that I need to play it in any other edition if I wanted to. So that's not the problem, and I'm not sure why it bothers me. We'll get into it. Let's talk about this a little bit, though. So, I'm going to throw up some images here, and we're just going to let them scroll through. Discover how dragons embody magic across the worlds of D&D and how you can bring them to life at your table in this quintessential reference guide for the world's greatest role-playing game. Meet Fizban the Fabulous, doddering archmage, unlikely hero of the War of the Lands, divine avatar of a dragon god, and your guide to the mysteries of dragonkind in the worlds of Krynn. I'm sorry, I don't know why I said that. The worlds of Dungeons and Dragons. What is the difference between a red dragon and a gold dragon? What is dragon sight? How does this magic that suffuses dragons impact the world around them? Here is your comprehensive guide to dragons, filled with the tips and tools dungeon masters and players need for their encounters with these dangerous magical creatures. Dragon slayers and dragon scholars alike will appreciate the new dragon-themed options for players eager to harness the power of dragon magic and create unique and memorable draconic characters. Dungeon masters will discover a rich hoard of new tools and information from designing dragon-themed encounters, adventures, and campaigns. Discover a host of new dragons and other creatures. Learn about the layers and hordes of each type of dragon and how hordes focus the magic that suffuses dragons and connects them to the myriad worlds of the material plane. Discover everything there is to know about the most iconic monsters of D&D with help from Fizban, your expert advisor on dragonkind. And then it says it introduces gem dragons to 5th edition. It reveals the story of the first world and the role Bahamut and Tiamat played in its creation and destruction. And I want to talk about those two really quick. So gem dragons, I don't understand why they leak out information. And that's not true. I understand why. Money. They want to make more money on source books being reprinted. So that's why they leak out information on each edition that was already there. Are the stats really that different between each edition? I understand that each edition has its own form of powers and stuff, and 4th edition was very different than 3rd and 5th, or a little bit more different than 5th. But 3rd, it was dramatically different. And so, yes, they need to re-release this stuff, but to sort of leak it out in this way, I don't know. It just, it screams money grubbing filth in my mind. And that's not positive, I know, but that's how I'm seeing it. It reveals the story of the first world. So what, Greyhawk? It wasn't. I know in like old school AD&D, it was prime material plane. That was the original world, and then everything else was just sort of extrapolating out from the prime material. So I guess maybe first world is that. I don't know. I think it's weird that they go out of their way to call it out. That's interesting. Adds new player character options, including unique draconic ancestries for Dragonborn, dragon-themed subclasses for monks and rangers, a new feat and spell options. Now, this, again, is not a Dragonlance book. It's referencing Dragonlance characters, Fizban. It even shows stats according to, let me show you here. It even shows stats according to Todd Kendrick's, I don't know why I clicked that button. It was the wrong one. According to Todd Kendrick's video from D&D Beyond, it does not show you the, it does not give you player stats for Draconians, only Dragonborn. So Dragonlance, I'm sorry, I don't know why I keep doing this. Dungeons & Dragons moving forward will not allow you to play a Draconian. It will allow you to play a Dragonborn, as it has since 4th edition. So that is their version, and they're not going to break that mold. And what they say is because it's Draconians are evil and they explode when they die. Sounds kind of a ridiculous notion to me, but if that's the rules, then that's the rules. Do what you want in your own home games, right? It's a little bit frustrating because it's saying, in one hand, we're going to give you a taste of Dragonlance, and in the other hand, we're going to take it away. We're not going to allow you to play in the sandbox, but we'll give you a little taste. We'll give you a tease. And that's frustrating as a Dragonlance fan. Wizards of the Coast has continually ignored a potential gold mine of a world, and I don't know, it's really aggravating as a Dragonlance fan. Good morning, Skull Cowboy. Appreciate you joining live. Yeah, I struggled with even talking about this because it's not Dragonlance. It has Dragonlance characters in it, and so I thought if I'm going to talk about it, then I'm going to talk about it in the way I know best, and that's to critically analyze Wizards of the Coast for using Dragonlance characters, as they have a right to do, in their other materials that has nothing to do with Dragonlance. So that's what I'm doing. Just so you guys know, it is available on Wizards of the Coast for pre-order from a multitude of different locations, and it's priced at $49.95. If you get it from D&D Beyond as the digital version, it is $29.99, and that's the difference, the digital or the physical. And if you want the alternate cover, you need to go to a game store on release and hope you can grab one, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of grognards trying to get their their filthy mitts on the alternate cover version of this thing. Okay, so let me continue. Offers everything a dungeon master needs to craft adventures inspired by dragons across the worlds of D&D, with new dragon lair maps and details on 20 different kinds of dragons. This is what this is the only reason why I would want to buy this. The artwork. That is the only reason. And you've got it. I mean, just look at the image on screen right now. It's very Godzilla, less dragon, more Godzilla, but still, it's beautiful. If you compare this artwork to the artwork in any 3rd edition Dragonlance, even the covers in 3rd edition Dragonlance materials, it blows it away. They totally ignored original artwork and quality artwork, in my opinion, in 3rd edition. They're all just illustrations and sort of unfinished looking paintings, and it's really frustrating. So, Skull, you say you feel the same way when it comes to necromancy outside of Dragonlance, yeah? And so this new book's being released, they're putting premium artists behind it, and they're getting amazing artwork. I mean, look at this Gem Dragon. He looks amazing. He looks fantastic. I don't know what this means, but okay. Thanks for joining the live, legend. Okay. So it presents a complete bestiary and introduces a variety of new dragons and dragon-related creatures, including aspects of the dragon gods, dragon minions, and more. So that's all the information they provide in the book. Again, Todd Kendrick goes into some more information. I'll include a link to his video so you can get a little bit of the D&D Beyond behind-the-scenes information about, what he's has access to as far as knowledge. It frustrates me to no end. I already said this. I know. I'm saying it again. They're only giving us a taste. I'd be surprised if they did specific dragons, Skull Cowboy, but that would be dope as hell if they did Kind Bloodlane. Because they're statting out monsters, but they're not giving you the world that those monsters come from in Draconian's specific case. And even Fizban and Takesis, the reason why they're Fizban and Takesis was so that they could actually use them, because originally they were, TSR had Tiamat and Bahamut copyrighted. And so Dragonlance, if they wanted to move forward and make changes with these characters, these ultimate dragon characters, they had to rename them and sort of recreate what was already there in order to be able to kill them off if they wanted to, or have them do anything they wanted them to do. That's created a separation between all of the other Prime Material worlds and Dragonlance. And so as soon as you are forced to separate them, then you should have the autonomy to just have this whole world encapsulated and not bled over. Now, if you're going to leak things out like Lord Soth and Ravenloft, or Spelljammer a little bit, touches here and there, but it doesn't actually affect the core of the campaign world, well, then no big deal. That's your choice. Do your thing. But as soon as you stop producing content for that split off world, you're literally ignoring a big part of a fan base for not only the pen and paper game, but also the video games, the comic books, the graphic novels, the novels, and everything, that goes tangentially connected, from posters to calendars to board games, etc. Like, you're ignoring a passionate fan base, and that makes no sense to me. I'm not going to whine and cry about it, because we have a ton of years worth of really great Dragonlance stuff that we can appreciate. And that's what this channel is all about, is about bringing up all of those wonderful different Dragonlance, products, and featuring them and having a lot of fun with them. But it would be nice to get something new. It's been a while. You know what I mean? We're watching other campaigns get love that, let's be honest, don't really need it. So maybe, scratch a little back here. You get the feeling that your fellow grognards won't care about this one. Ravenloft killed all of WotC's credibility, Fleet. Good point, Fleet. And then this is the other thing that I wanted to talk about after announcing these. Okay, so that does it matter? Does it matter that Dragonlance does not exist in 5th edition as its entirety of its own campaign setting? Because ultimately, if they're going to be releasing little tiny aspects of Dragonlance in other books, like I think it was the Unearthed Arcana, they had a spell about Fizban's shield or something like that. They have other source books talking about the dragon orbs. If these sort of core Dragonlance elements are being pulled into the greater Dungeons and Dragons world at large, do we need our own specific core book if we can then just play with all of the other source materials? And then alternatively, if they do release this other, source book for Dragonlance specifically, is it just going to be a reprint of all the other disparate elements that are already out there in different books? So, excuse me, still early. I'm still drinking coffee. I'm still trying to live with this. So I'm just trying to sort of work my mental way through this and try to understand what their actual purpose is, what their goals are moving forward. Because the more I think about it, the less I actually think they're going to be giving us anything Dragonlance specific, period. And is that okay? So what's his name? Todd Kendrick had mentioned during his video that Dungeons and Dragons has been for a while trying to go away from alignment. Now, if you've ever played any Dungeons and Dragons or, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons back in the day, alignment's a big deal. That is everything, especially with Dragonlance. Dragonlance was built on the premise of alignment, good, neutrality, and evil. That's why they encourage you to play good characters in Dragonlance, because it's supposed to be about good overcoming evil. And if one of those alignments comes into sort of authority and swing the pendulum, as it were, then the other two alignments come together to stop it. And you have an example of good with the Istar, the king priest, and neutrality and evil coming together to smash him. And then you have an example of Takesis in the War of the Lance, where good and neutrality have to come to smash her. And that's how it works in Dragonlance. Alignment is core. If this game system is going away from alignment, can Dragonlance exist in that frame? I mean, of course, mechanically it can, but can the spirit of this campaign world exist without alignment is the question. Hey, Sake Sam, thanks for joining live. Sorry, I just took a drink of coffee. I've played 5th edition, I think, 3 times. The mechanics didn't seem that different from 4th edition in my memory, but again, it had been years since I played 4th when I played it, and I haven't played it for years. So I have no plans on ever playing a 5th edition Dragonlance campaign, and so I don't really care that much whether or not there's Dragonlance 5th edition content out there. We have, in my opinion, the best edition, which is 1st and 2nd edition Dungeons & Dragons, and we have tons of Dragonlance content for those. So that's all you really need, in my opinion. You always read it as being about the freedom to choose the effects of those choices. Dragonlance has great characters. It's the alignment shows players how to see the consequences. Yeah, that's true. I think next year a campaign book will be released, says Jack. Thanks for joining live, man. And you may be right, and I guess that'd be okay. Here's the other side I wanted to talk about this, about Dragonlance specific content being released. Dragonlance Nexus just released their version of Dragonlance conversion for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Now, let's say for argument's sake that Wizards of the Coast looks at that and sees it as good enough. Is there a world where, because WotC has ignored this campaign world, that the fans of the campaign world create material that's good enough, WotC no longer feels like they need to release anything? Because the fans already did it themselves. Why should WotC release anything? So 2 sides to that. If that ever happens, does it matter? Do we need WotC to give us anything if we're just going to have our own fans do it ourselves? I have nothing to do with the Dragonlance Nexus. I did not have anything to do with that book. I didn't even look at it yet. I just know it exists. And if it's anything like they've done in the past, then it's going to be good. So I don't know. Sake Sam, I have not heard that. I know she did license Dragonlance in 3rd edition, and so she released a lot of products through Sovereign Press and Margaret Weiss Productions for 3rd edition, but that license has elapsed early on. Before 3rd edition lost its momentum and they moved to 4th. And as far as I've heard, I haven't heard anything about Weiss doing anything other than the supposed novels that are supposed to be released next year now, I've heard. Wizards will screw up Dragonlance just as they did everything else. I believe that, Fleet. I mean, if you just look at the construct of 5th edition, it doesn't seem to work really well with Dragonlance. Especially if it's moving away from stuff like alignment, and if Dragonborn are the new Draconian, as far as player options, well, that doesn't really fit with the story side of Dragonlance. No, Van, the lawsuit is over. So, does it matter if Dragonlance releases, if WotC releases any Dragonlance content when the fans are already creating stuff? And then are the fans hurting themselves by creating stuff, filling the vacuum that WotC no longer needs to fill? So these are the types of questions I ask myself on a regular basis whenever I see any new Dragonlance content being released. And ultimately, I think it comes down to what do we as fans want out of a game? Now, certainly there's going to be fans that love 5th edition, and they're going to enjoy it, and they're going to want those conversions. By all means, move forward in health and happiness. I have no problem with that. For those of us who think 5th edition doesn't necessarily scratch that itch for us, we have every previous edition and alternate game system out there to convert Dragonlance to fill that need, to scratch that itch, as it were. So it's not a big deal. I guess my sort of thesis point of this video is I don't appreciate them stealing Dragonlance characters in order to sell products that have nothing to do with Dragonlance. I think that's deceptive. It's just plain shitty. You know, why? You could have just done Tiamat or Bahamut instead of Fizban, and it would have been the exact same thing. It literally nothing else would have changed, except now you have to explain who Fizban is to people who don't know. And then they're like, well, why did you bring in a Dragonlance character to explain dragons to us in a non-Dragonlance book? That doesn't make any conceptual sense at all. From a design perspective, it doesn't make any sense. So, kind of frustrating. The fans are doing what the game is, using inner means based, a skeleton of all the books and all. Made your own crummy home brew. Hey, good on you, Sake. Let's see, you think they settled for an undisclosed amount? Yeah, I think they did too, Fleet. And good on them, you know. They did the work. Okay, so that being said, that's what I really wanted to talk about, is the release of this book, how it has nothing to do with Dragonlance, how they're just using Dragonlance in order to sell a non-Dragonlance product, and they're not even giving you stats for Dragonlance characters, just Dragonlance monsters. I don't... it's not for me. If I buy this digitally, I'll get it for the images, because, again, the quality of images that WotC is releasing for their products is just stellar, in my opinion. Just absolutely stellar. These artists are doing a great job. I wish they would have done it with 3rd edition for Dragonlance, but they shit the bed there. So, you know, maybe next year, for those of you thinking that we're going to get a Dragonlance book next year, maybe next year we'll get something, and we'll have this amazing artwork that we can, you know, call back to. That would be great. But, yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? Are you excited for Fizban's Treasury of Dragons? Do you play 5th edition, and do you need an official version of the Dragonlance campaign, or are you just going to be happy with the homebrew that you make on your own? And lastly, how do you feel about alignment sort of going the way of the dodo with Dungeons and Dragons in the coming future? Does it impact Dragonlance, and does it not? Anyway, however you feel, leave a comment below or shoot me an email, info@dragonlance-saga.com. I would also like to invite you to, once again, to consider becoming a patron and member of the channel, and you can pick up Dragonlance gaming materials using my affiliate link, all of which are in the description below. And for those of you joining live, if you were a member, you would actually have a little Dragon High Lord icon right next to your name, proving that you are a Dragon High Lord on this channel. And you could also use some of the custom gifts that I threw out there of the heroes of the Lance and more as the channel membership grows. So thank you all so much. This channel is all about celebrating the wonderful world of the Dragonlance Saga, and I hope you join me in the celebration. Thank you for watching. This has been Adam with Dragonlance Saga, and until next time, Slán Javar.